Desperation was never meant to be an option. God never wanted us desperate. Not for a person, a place, an opportunity, a job, whatever. You were never meant to be desperate. It wasn't part of God's plan. If you're an ambitious person, if you're somebody who has your life figured out, you already know that you have to start looking for job opportunities before you leave uni. That was me. That was exactly what I was doing. I interned at this good company. My ring light just went off. This is a tip. Is if you're not aware, you have to start preparing for life after uni before you graduate. It's not after you graduate that you're going to start preparing for life after uni. For all of my university students, everybody who is still a student, you have to start preparing for after uni before you graduate. It's not when you graduate that you're going to start preparing for after uni. So I was this girl had already mapped out what I wanted to do. So I interned at this place. I liked how the workers there were friendly, how they were kind, and in fact I loved the energy at this place. So I was like, oh, I'm going to want to work here. So I had a specific skill set which I thought could fit into this company. So while I was there, I was doing every single thing to fit the company managers, the workers, the owner of the company. I was doing everything to fit into their good book. But there was a naive little girl trying to fit into a workplace with no understanding of workplace politics, with no understanding of how reality actually works, like just following advice online. And that's why you should really be careful with the kind of advice you get online. Honestly speaking, the internet has changed my life so much. It has helped me gain a lot of knowledge, but you need to be very careful with the kind of knowledge you get online. Not everything you get online is as easy as it seems, because if you're trying to level up your career, they are going to go to events, network people, will share your ideas, like pitch yourselves to people, show them what you can do. That is how you're going to land a job. In reality, it doesn't always work that way. Well, yes, you can be lucky, you might get a job, in fact, you might meet amazing people that will change your life, but in reality, it doesn't always work that way. They are crooks and crannies that a lot of people don't talk about. So there was a naive little girl showing all her cards out, trying hard, doing every single thing I could. I was basically a girl in a masquerade party where everybody was wearing masks, but I was there with my real face, smiling ear to ear. It was not a good experience. And if you're trying to get a job while trying to pitch yourself in a company and trying to put yourself in a company can still work, but you need to do it strategically. I was holding on to this idea that, oh, I need to be a boss babe, I need to have my own money, I need to depend on anybody after university. There are a lot of things that I want to do, there are a lot of places that I want to go to. So I kept holding on to this idea, and these people, they kept turning me around in circles because I was holding on to this idea of how I want my life to work out, of how I want things to be. And also because I was so afraid of being jobless after university, I was so desperate. I wanted to position myself in such a way that I could get a job. With all of these ideas in my head, I started being desperate. At first, it showed as ambition. I was very ambitious. I would write ideas every week, explain my strategies, how we can level up the company, how we can grow the company, all of that. The more I did it, I felt like I was running on a treadmill, wasting a lot of energy but with no results. And definitely, if you're watching Miss Read the Room, I definitely advise that you should watch her. She said something of the lack of results, or is it the lack of fruits? If you are in a place and you are constantly pouring and pouring in and you're not getting anything back, that is a sign that that place is not meant for you. But because I was desperate, I could not see what was happening. So there was I wasting my energy, and it took me a lot before I was able to understand what was happening. They were basically using my ideas, but they don't want to pay me back. Who does that? It happens in real life. That is just an example of what being desperate can do to you. I've been living in the northwest region of Cameroon since I was born, and we've had this crisis for 9 years, ongoing crisis for 9 years. There's been a lot of gunshots. We have been living in ghost towns. In fact, we have ghost towns every Monday, while the rest of the world, their week starts on Monday, ours starts on Tuesday, and there has been a lot of hardship. So with all of that pressure, I finally understand why people forget who they are. They forget the standards that they have built for themselves to do certain type of things. I finally understand why. Also, I've also seen people who have held on to their standards, people who have trusted God for what he's going to do, for them, and I've seen how their lives have turned out. And I would definitely advise you, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how hard it is, hold on to your standards and your values. And acting out of desperation will do you no good. It will do you no good. All of this reminds me of this video which I watched, Stephanie Ike. She spoke about how when we are constantly trying to force our own ideas, when we are constantly trying to force our own path in this world, we are going to be constantly striving. There's a difference between striving and striving, the one that starts with S. You can check the two meanings, and we are going to be faced a lot of manipulation. And I've seen that in my own life, because I was just holding on to this idea and I was just so desperate. How will I survive? How would life look after university? And she said, but the people that hold on to God, you can see, they would explain their struggles to you. They will see how, they have faced difficulties, but when they succeed, or when they finally have the things that they have, or when you see their lives start coming together, you start seeing that this person, there is a force that is behind this person. This person is backed by God. You start seeing it, and that is not coincidental. These people, they have gone through the path that God wants them to go through. They have been patient, and this is not to say that their life is easier, but they have been patient with God, and they do not want things la 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 la. I think they were like, oh, God, this is what I want, but they were trusting the path that God was taking them through. We need to really learn how to implement in our lives, especially with this age of social media, where you are seeing people buying their first houses at 20, 25. They have traveled 7 countries, and you feel like, oh, your age mates are living their lives. Oh, you need to also do same, forgetting that these people, they are not even in a third world country like you. Like, I cannot compare myself at my age to somebody who is living in the US or in Europe, because in as much as, yes, God works in mysterious ways and God is able to reach all of us, but there are certain environments that promote your growth more. And also, you cannot compare yourself to somebody who had people that were there for them, while you had to struggle to figure out everything by yourself. While you're going through life, well, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is, never be desperate. Because when you're desperate, the energy, it spills off of you. And certain people, when they notice that you're desperate, like the right people that had to maybe take your hand and take you along your journey, when they notice that you're desperate, they understand that desperate people can do anything to survive. Because these people, they are trying so hard to survive, or they are trying so hard to want a particular thing, and they can. And when you're desperate, you can be lured to do anything to take that path. And also, once you are desperate, you're attracting the wrong people out to come for you, because they're like, oh, this person is desperate. Oh, like, because she's desperate, we can say this, we can do this, and she's going to fall for our trap because she's desperate, or he's desperate. Whereas once you are aligned, once you are calm, and you have accepted the path that God has made for you, and you are living your life the way God wants you to live it, a lot of people cannot play over your senses, because you see clearly, or because you're just calm and you're not in a haste to accept certain things. Sooner or later, you'll be like, oh, but why is this person acting like this? You're able to see clearly when you are not in a haste, when you are not desperate. You're able to see clearly. This is a prayer point that you should add to your list of prayers. Any spirit of hastiness and desperation, let God take it away. When David wrote, "The Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need," it wasn't just an affirmation. You know, there are a lot of affirmations that we're encouraged to do nowadays. It wasn't just an affirmation that he was affirming into his life, it was his reality. I pray that we get to that point where we trust God that much and we learn and we know that desperation was never meant to be an option. It wasn't part of God's plan, and God never wanted us desperate. Thank you for watching. I have a Substack, a newsletter called Confessions from the In-Between, where I go in depth to write about these videos which I talk about. If you would want to read that, download the Substack app and you can read my newsletters. I drop letters every week. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'm going to be seeing you in my next video.